You're listening to Force Majeure, an actual play Star Wars podcast. My name is Adam, and I'm your host, and your adventure today will be joining you after these words from our sponsors.
Start your family's day with Banfico's Blue Milk. Banfico's Blue Milk. It's the best in the galaxy.
Blue as sapphire, soft as silk. It's the best, it's the tastiest. Blue Milk.
Thank you, sponsors. My name is Ed Fortune, and I will be your Games Master for this session. We are playing Force and Destiny, actual play, and the campaign is called Shadows of the Jedi. I would like the players to introduce themselves and their characters, and also tell me what gets them out of bed in the morning.
Hi, I'm Mim. I play Roy, who is a B1 battle droid. I am a hired gun, and I specialise in being a bodyguard. I also have an obligation of 40 to the Bars family. What gets me out of bed in the morning? Bar. Also some bars. Sometimes nothing.
Does Roy have a bed?
Of course I have a bed. It's normalisation.
Oh, right, it's okay.
Yeah, the charging station is in a horizontal position. It's got a plug round about the foot. She just slots in like a papoose.
I like the fact that mine can be inclined.
Oh, very fancy. Mm-hmm. Very fancy.
Only the best with her.
Only the best for bars.
I'm Ross. I'm playing Dosmex Karam Denaloa, a Syrian consular healer. My emotional strength is my compassion. My weakness is my obstinateness, and I am effectively a Doctors Without Borders in these parts, treating who needs treated. What gets me out of the bed at the moment is mostly the screams of the next patient coming through the door. I try and grab what rest I can in whatever bottle I can sometimes, but yeah, usually it's someone screaming.
My name is Mikey. I'm playing Kay. Kay is a warrior taxi driver. His emotional strength is his compassion, but his emotional weakness is his hatred. What gets Kay out of bed in the morning? Kay works odd hours. Kay very rarely gets out of bed in the morning. Kay gets up 2, maybe 3 in the afternoon when the hangover is bearable. He has a lot of issues going back into his past. And what gets him out of bed in the morning is just one foot in front of the other. Just getting him to the next day. He's not entirely sure what the next day is going to entail, but this has been an interesting one. An interesting day for him.
My name is Adam, and I'm playing Tychus Bar, a Basilisk Sentinel artisan. My emotional strength is my bravery, and my emotional weakness is recklessness. What gets Tychus out of bed in the morning is seeing what's out there. Every day brings a new customer with a new demand, a new weapon, a new piece of armour, a new piece of gear that they want tweaking just for them. A unique piece. He thrives on taking something standard and making it personal and unique. And then, when his day in the shop is finished, excitement. Going out there with his friends, breaking the law, drinking, gambling, fighting. He's young, and he's not yet learned that he can die. He's still in that feeling of invulnerability that you get when your best friends are a gilded bounty hunter and a modified battle droid, and you're 17 years old and can throw a mighty punch. That's what gets him out of bed, pushing that boundary.
If you were to ask the citizens of the core worlds what benefit the Empire brings to civilization, they would say that on the Outer Rim, there is civilization now thanks to the peace brought by the Empire. Of course, the citizens in the Outer Rims would disagree with this vehemently, which just goes to prove as far away as you can put a problem is how small a problem seems to you. On the planet Kinabale, which is definitely in the Outer Rim, it's about as Outer Rim as you can get before it gets very wild. There is a city, the scavenger city of Red Yes, and yes, it has an Imperial garrison, it has an Imperial outpost. It's not the most impressive example of an Imperial might. It's basically a few huts and someone's house. And when I say huts, I mean small buildings rather than a slug-shaped alien. The Imperial garrison is somewhat of an embarrassment, but imagine how embarrassed the people who found themselves locked up in the local jail. Such as the party, who are waking up with a hangover, the kind of hangover that can only be generated by ionic energy being pumped through their bodies, causing their bodies to be stunned. For whatever reason, they've all been lumped into the same cell. And as they find themselves on their cots and waking up, they look at each other, perhaps for the first time, to see what they are party. Can you describe what you look like as you get out of your tiny cell cot? You're all in the same room.
Mm-hmm.
There is not much space. It has white plaster walls everywhere, and there is a very small door to one side where the refresher unit can be found.
How much of our gear do we have still on us? Because that will have an impact on what we look like, I think.
Strangely, with the exception of your weapons, you have all your kit.
Do I have 2 bags of gems?
It's a very interesting question. And it occurs to you, as you feel the pouches, that in fact you do. And then you realise that the Imperials here are really not very well funded.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost as if you were running an Imperial garrison and you wanted to get people as far away from you as possible, you'd send them here.
I see. Kay wakes up. It's quite clear that this is not the first hangover he's ever had, but he looks absolutely miserable. He's probably in his mid-30s, but he looks older. He has a very unkempt, scraggly beard. He's wearing a set of clothing he probably has, not for the first time, has slept in, and looks just so very dishevelled. There are flecks of grey in his hair. His beard is utterly unkempt. But interestingly enough, he has a slice, a cut down his right side of possibly some sort of blade that goes through his eye. The cybernetic eye in Kay's head is remarkable. It is an incredibly well put together thing. It's obvious that it is one because it's a slightly different colour than his normal eye. But other than that, it's top of the range. He's currently holding his head. You don't think he maybe has realised where he is yet. He quite often wakes up with a hangover.
The Doctor will be quite surprised to be waking up at this point because nobody's actually screaming. Or isn't anybody screaming?
Nobody's screaming.
Nobody's screaming.
Kay is groaning a lot.
Yeah, but you're not screaming. So
Your pain is mild enough to ignore.
Dr. Curran would otherwise be sleeping through this. Well, no, not really. Dr. Curran is surprised to be waking up in a more natural fashion than normal. Syrian, taller than human head, but goatee, but also not quite so clean shaven around, and an amount of a ponytail down the back of the head. But he's young. He's in his late 20s. He's probably, shaved off the youthful inexperience at this point because he spent several months there. It's taken a few months to get to the state where he's been drinking a lot in bars. He is staying in the bed for the moment because there doesn't seem to be any immediate call for him to act, which is something he's just going to savour for a moment and just listen to what's going on.
Tychus is a basilisk, which is the four-armed, kind of froggy-looking alien-type folk. Basilisks are generally quite stocky and quite heavy-set, and he's not quite grown into that frame yet. He's clearly quite young, he's quite rangy with it all. There are the promises there of being kind of a much bulkier person in the future, but at the moment he's still kind of got that first flush of youth. His wattle is tattooed with like a geometric patterns, which are, for people who've seen him around the bar, they are temporary tattoos because that pattern changes every couple of weeks or so. He's greenish grey skin and his crest on the top of his head is dyed a vibrant red. He's wearing overalls with many, many pockets that are, as I said before, completely bulging with bits and bats, and there's like bits of cable and wire sticking out of some and tools sticking out of other, clearly. And he has a back scabbard that's now empty, which is where usually a very large rifle is stowed. He gets to his feet quite quickly, really. He's still at that age where hangovers aren't much of a thing, so with a quick shake of his head, he looks around the room, takes stock of what's going on, then immediately leaps towards Roy and goes, "Roy, diagnostic report, situation!"
Oh, diagnostic. We're not dead. You're not dead. Roy is a modified B1 battle droid. He's slightly stockier in the arms and the legs than the average battle droid. And he's accentuated with red spray paint, so he's got some flair. And as I said before, he's got a removable mohawk, which is bright red, sort of matches Bar's, but obviously being a bit pointier than his natural flesh. And he's got a sticky outy tongue detail from a modification that he had when he was first brought into use by the Bar family to make him seem friendly and presentable. He just shakes his head a bit and bangs around. You can tell that he's not particularly kind on himself from the way he twists himself and is happy to pull bits apart. He's clearly a creature of modification. This is what he's used to, so he treats his body as an addition to the rest of him.
If you've been disarmed, are your weapons sort of disconnected from you, or were they just something you wore?
There's an empty holster
Right.
in his on his side, but he doesn't seem that concerned about that.
Okay.
He mostly pats his arms and his body, making sure nothing has been personally removed from him, and instinctively looks for any restraining bolt.
Unfortunately, they aren't that stupid. There is a restraining bolt on you.
Whoa, boss.
You're pretty much sure that if you leave this garrison, you will shut down.
Right, we're having none of that, lad. Pop yourself over here, Roy. Let's see what I can do for you. And then Bar kind of looks at the other people in the room. Morning.
Is it?
I have no idea.
No need to roll to remove the restraining bolt. It is incompetently attached, almost hastily attached by someone who wasn't entirely sure what they were doing. Quite easily, for a mechanic of your skill and level, it pretty much comes off in your hand.
That goes in one of the pouches.
Now, speaking of pouches, Ed, I'm wearing a smuggler's coat, and what I was smuggling in my smuggler's coat is my pistol. Is it still there?
Yes.
Good.
There is a level of competence here, as I keep
Yes.
pointing out, and these are not the best of the stormtroopers.
So, like, what the criff actually happened? I mean, there's a wee scrap with those moof milkers from the Shattered Oath, and then it looks like someone called the fuzz properly. I mean, what the hell was that they fired through the window at us? Wee bit of overkill, really.
Stun grenades.
I don't have an answer to the question, but at this point I am starting to pay attention to the fact that there are bruises and other lower level injuries that are not, scream worthy, but probably could do a little bit of treatment if people would like a little bit of attention.
You can. It's all cosmetic damage, but
Okay.
you can, if you want to treat people, you can easily treat with that roll.
Okay.
If
I offer these skills because people will have noticed the med pack I'm still carrying, among other things.
Oh, hey, Doc. Well, I'm never one to turn down a bit of plink plink fizzy make feel nice after a night on the tiles.
Just keep still for a moment.
you fuss with his very bruised wattle.
Aye, that's a wee tender. Roy, the criffers punched me in my wattle. Oh,
I got him back.
that is.
He had these shock sort of fisty things.
Aye, what the hell was that?
Court you a ringer.
I've never seen anything like that before. You two ever seen anything like that before? I mean, I know Shock Gauntlets from Shock Gauntlets, but
I don't think we'll ever see anything like that again. It blew up when you punched him.
Mm-hmm.
Robot.
Does anyone have
Droid.
roll?
Roy.
nicely done, Roy. Nicely done.
As you all sit there trying to figure out what the criff has just happened, it's fairly obvious that it was some sort of stun grenade, but you're trying to work out what's going on with the weird shot gauntlet.
Yeah.
So I'd like an intellect roll from K, difficulty 1. I'd like a mechanics, technical voodoo roll from Tychus, difficulty 2. I'd like a medicine roll, again, difficulty 2, from the Dr. Smacks. And Roy, you have a special education goggles thingy?
I have data goggles, which basically give me access to a kind of space Wikipedia. I've got it for education.
So, difficulty 2.
So that's 1 success for me.
3 success, but 2 threat.
Okay.
1 success for Roy.
3 success, 1 advantage.
So, I'll start with Tychus. You want nothing to do with this. This is where the threat's coming in. It's very obvious to you that this is the sort of technology that not only gets you, like, barred and arrested, but gets you banned from whole systems. The actual power glove itself is a standard power glove. The power source itself, however, is something like the only way for that to happen and for that to work, that has to be something extremely dangerous and extremely unstable. You're not sure what, but anything like that goes straight to the top of the forbidden list. And we're not talking the Imperial forbidden list, which, bans sugar on certain planets. We're talking about huts. It's too much for huts. It's too much for the Black Sun. This is the sort of stuff that, even madmen hesitate using.
And to be completely honest, if one punch from a battle droid can cause it to blow up and take your hand off, it's just shoddy engineering. Much better ways of getting the same effect. Far less personal danger.
Does Roy still have the black gunk that it exploded on him, or has that all been cleaned
No,
up?
because it was more of a black aura energy that then vanished. The sort of explosion is, as far as you can tell on your intergalactic Wikipedia system, is associated with ancient weapons, including things like lightsabers.
Oh.
Kyber crystals would
Nope.
have this sort of explosion.
Nope.
That's that sort of effect. Dr. Kura, he said, getting the name right. How many successes was it again?
3 successes and an advantage.
Okay, this is exotic matter poisoning. That's what he had. He is going to be very, very unwell unless he can find something to extract all of the tiny shards of crystal. There's a number of different things that are all exotic matter.
Okay.
So they're all expensive, rare things that you very rarely get your hands on. It's not unusual for this planet for people to come back from the desert wastes having found an ancient thingy from somewhere.
Right, sorry, so this is something that exploded in his hand, the shrapnel fired the exotic material into him.
Yeah.
So it was so it came from what he was holding in his hand at the time.
Yes.
Okay.
So the power source has poisoned him with exotic matter.
He's not in the cell with us though at the moment.
He's not. Those black marks are both poisoning and scarring and burning. It's the sort of effect that instantly necrotizes the flesh. The thing is, there's very few things that do that, like full stop, in the galaxy. There's very few things that cause that sort of necrotizing, and they are weird and they are rare. And essentially, all medical manuals that you've said says get help, take immediately to the most advanced facilities you can find. It's so unusual to see that sort of effect that you shouldn't.
There's an amount of worry in me at the moment that chances are the most advanced medical facility at the moment is me.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, hello.
Your worst fear as to where this may have come from?
Oh.
Possibly. You would need to know exactly what was on there, but you might have seen it before. You're pretty sure you've seen that sort of energy before.
Yes.
But you've not seen that sort of implementation before. So you're not sure where it's come from, but it's not good.
Kay looks like he's remembering the night before. He looks very, very pale. And then he rushes off to the refresher to be quite ill.
Bar watches him go, stands up, brushes himself down. All right, Roy, pop over here then, lad, for a moment. Let's just make sure that it's not scrambled your circuits any. And I pop out my slicer rig from various pockets, quickly assemble it with kind of my lower arms are clipping the bits of the slicer rig together, while my dominant arms are then running cables from the top of it into a docking port at the back of Roy's head. And I'm going to fire up Roy's diagnostics, just make sure that his systems hasn't been scrambled particularly, that everything's running, that the various specialist programs installed by myself and my parents are all right. Just make sure that Roy's fine.
Roy is fine. Looking outside, there are other people in cells who are being picked up, taken away. You see the Chadrofan cyborg, who you were playing pool with just maybe a few hours ago, taken away by a stormtrooper for processing. You see other people pass by your cell as they're taken away for processing. And about an hour passes and still you have not been processed.
I've got to say, I'm a wee bit concerned about all this. I mean, for one thing, it's a wee heavy-handed for a garrison this small, and let's be fair, with this little influence, to bust an entire bar. I mean, what are they hoping to gain? It's only a bit of a rumble. Happens every Saturday night at that place.
Did you see what he had in his hand? He punched you with it. Did you feel it?
Aye, of course I did, but then his hand went bang and he's gone. Why have they roped the rest of us in? And why haven't they processed us? I've got work to do. I'm not sticking around here all night.
I've got patience. Or I will have. They never keep stopping coming to me.
The door of the cell rattles. There is a stormtrooper letting someone else in. There is as far as you can see, a very brief conversation between this other person and the stormtrooper. And something passes hands. No one needs particular cunning to realise that a bribe has just occurred.
Yes.
Velo Kane is a familiar sight to anyone who's worked with Bracker the Hutt. He is a Chiss, which means he's bright blue. He is, as the joke goes, always blue. He is a man of very dour temperament. He has very red eyes. He is very smartly dressed, and somehow he manages, despite the oppressive heat of the planet of Kina Bale, to be smartly dressed. He's in a white suit with a wide-brimmed hat, not of the type that you see in the desert, more of the type that you see in more formal attire. And he strides in as if he owns the place. Gentlemen and other.
Kay wipes the vomit out of his beard.
It means you, Kay.
Yeah, what?
I understand that you have a slight problem.
Well, if you can call being locked in here without cause and left here to rot. I've got work to do. Can you tell these chrome tops to either charge us or let us go?
Yeah, they have rights, she says, pointing to everybody else.
Fortunately for all of you, you have friends in low places. Bracker likes the way that you've handled yourself and has had his eye on you for some time. Do us a favour and all of this can go away. The bloody case is one of Bracker's favourite places to be, and he's not happy that the bar is broken.
I think we can all agree on that one at the very least.
And unfortunately, there's no one else around to take the blame.
Except everybody else that was arrested, including Garrett Kane and his screaming oath.
Don't-
Moof milkers that actually caused the scrap.
No one's seen Garrett in a while. At least a few hours.
Aye, but his other lads were taken in as well. Look, if they're going to walk into screaming Banther area and start causing trouble, what do you expect?
Don't try and reason with him. It's not logic. We either stay here and rot for a while, I'm guessing, or we help you.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
That bribe's going to be done for use for something.
Consider this, as it were, an audition. Do, not myself, but do Bracker this one favour, and all your problems, I can guarantee, will go away.
Mr. Kane, are you saying that if we do this favour, we'll walk out of here before processing?
Yes.
Then I will help you.
Are you saying that by all problems you can, fund the medical institution and, do something to clear up the area?
Do I look like an Alderanian princess to you?
You said you would clear up all problems.
Nice, but no. But if you want to come to an arrangement with the medical facilities, Bracker would be very interested. We have asked before, and you keep saying no. So yes, if you want some additional sponsorship, we can certainly come to an arrangement. But I don't think that's what you mean, is it?
I was just trying to clarify what you meant.
What kind of favour? We are proud that we aren't overly affiliated with anyone major. We've been linked to powerful people before, and you've seen where we've landed up.
It's just a fetch and carry. There's been some rain recently. Some things have fallen out of the sky. Bracker was expecting a shipment, and it's somewhere in the desert. We can provide you with coordinates as to where it is.
What about salvage rights?
Anything else you can find is yours. We just want one thing.
Oh, in that case, aye.
Can we leave the cell and discuss this?
Yes.
And can we get our gear back? I feel naked without Clementine.
There is a small scene where you all get kitted up, and we have a small montage scene that we'll cut as you get cleaned up and ready and picked up.
Kay doesn't get cleaned. Kay doesn't add any stuff to him. Kay is as filthy as he was when he left the cell.
You are briefly picked up in a speeder. It's a very nice speeder. It's also white. Somehow it's stayed clean. There's red flecks all over it, however.
Yes.
And we reacquaint ourselves just outside the city in a very, very nice appointed building, which you all know to be Bracker's Palace. Has anyone been here before?
No.
No.
Once or twice. I've done a few runs for him before, but I've never met him.
And you made an introduction at some point.
You still haven't been. You still aren't introduced. You are taken into the foyer area. It is a palace in the desert. It is a large adobe building. It is essentially a fortress in its own right, and you have the feeling that the small area that you're in runs deep underground. There's much more to this building than meets the eye. It is gaudy. It's very gaudy. There is a fountain. Mm-hmm. It has water.
Oh,
That's very, aye.
And it is
ostentatious.
It is covered in art and drawings. I think the only person who has the education would be Roy.
Education.
And also a Dr. Kuran. So if you can both make education rolls.
Roy doesn't care about any form of art whatsoever, unless there are anything, well, I suppose it could be villainous. I'll look for villainous
It's
things.
difficult in any way.
It's a 1.
5 successes and 1 advantage.
2 failures.
Okay, so
Roy really doesn't care.
the Hutts are an intergalactic criminal family.
I love the crumbling wall effect.
They have no.
I like this small little thing. What do you call it?
That is
Light
a good
switch.
brick. Look at that brick. Isn't that brick good?
They have no religion. Dr. Kuhn, that's not true. They definitely have a religion. They have a massive pantheon. The artwork here is borderline blasphemous as far as Hutts are concerned. What Bracker has done is he's taken images of Bunta the Hutt, who is a godlike. He ascended to godhood. He traded and fought his way up to become a god in the Hutt pantheon. He essentially conquered entire star nations and was greeted with ascension to the gods. He was such an incredibly powerful Hutt that Bunta is quite rightly worshipped. So it's slightly blasphemous that what Bracker has done is he's taken traditional friezes and sculptures and replaced front with himself.
Right. I have ranks in xenology as well, so I can see what poses he's in, and it's not pleasant.
This is a level of egotism that beyond what you would normally consider. It's a little bit sickening, to be honest. And this is just the foyer. Like you have no idea what else is there.
Are there any droids running around the place?
There are some R4 droids that have been modified to essentially carry trays and things. They're not going anywhere near you because you have essentially been taken into the foyer and then put into a small antechamber to be sat down.
I'll see you later, baby.
Oh, actually, I say that one of them does come to serve the organic drinks.
How?
While we're waiting, Bart unships Clementine, his pulse rifle, lays it down on the table, pulls out a roll of almost like jeweler's level of screwdrivers and tools, you know, the very, very fine ones, and starts tweaking her to make sure that she's going to work all right, that his personal modifications work, and that when the Imperials have taken his prized possession, they haven't messed with the settings.
They haven't. Does anyone have warfare?
No.
No.
That's good. So,
I can still make the attempt.
you can make the attempt.
I'm going to. What's the difficulty?
It's 2.
1 success, 1 advantage.
You're sitting in this entire area, this entire foyer area, is what architects would describe as a killing chamber. This is where you invite invading forces, such as a bunch of stormtroopers, into your front room. So there are little areas where people can pop out guns and end any invaders. This is why it's so garishly obvious in the front. The rest of the place is very heavily fortified. This is the shop front.
Are there any parts of this courtyard that were allowed, or this foyer that were allowed in, that is not in an immediate field of fire?
No, there is nowhere that you can hide. Maybe the fountain for about maybe 10 seconds before the fountain gets turned off.
Well, in that case, Bart's not going to worry about it. He's just going to carry on.
But yeah, there's nowhere to hide should they decide to. It looks lovely and it's very, very well appointed, but it's got a very practical job.
I pick up one of the drinks. I go and sit quite near Tychus while he's concentrating on his thing. And I say, "My name's Kay. Have you worked for Bracker before?"
Oh, Tychus Bar. No, his lads have been at the shop every now and then, you know, getting upgrades on the gear and getting things tweaked, but we try to stay a bit more independent. My folks, they're not so one for a overt affiliation anymore, you know.
Yeah.
Been burned before. What about yourself?
Worked for him a few times.
Whilst you are fussing with drinks and your tools, you have been left to your own devices for a while, then Velo Kane joins you. Almost like he's a walking cliche, he's now carrying some small fuzzy animal that he is stroking. It's got white fur, it's got red eyes, and it's got big ears. You're not sure which species it is. Even your xenobiology courses, Dr. Kuram, don't really cover exotic weird alien pets, though you're welcome to try. He sits down and sets a small pad. Right. Let's get to business. I need you to recover one thing for me. And he presses a button and a hologram appears. It is a statue, a solid golden statue, about 2 foot across, 1 foot high, of a hut, a very muscular hut, carrying some sort of spear. It's clearly mounted on a plinth, and it looks heavy. It looks very heavy. It is made out of some sort of gold material and crystal.
As a hologram, is it indication this is actual size?
That's actual size.
Well, we're going to need a wee grav lift kind of thing for that. That's pretty heavy.
Yes. We'll get to those fine details. It is located, he opens the map, and it's an approximate map of Keenabel. You've got a rough idea where it is. It is definitely the wastelands. And there is a crashed ship next to it. This is Razor's Heel. It is a Sea Rock Gazanti class ship, and it should have arrived here yesterday. It hasn't. It's crashed, thanks to interference from people who shouldn't be anywhere near this planet or ourselves. You will not be the only people that Bracker has asked to retrieve, and I will warn you.
That doesn't make me feel like he's got a lot of confidence in our abilities, mate.
He hasn't, he just wants it back. Also, there are others who are not connected to the Hutt family, who may have been responsible for knocking this out of the sky in the first place. It's not your concern. Get in, get the statue, get out. If you can get anything else, it's yours.
Respectfully, it is a bit of our concern, because if they're going to be there raiding this place as well, and if there's going to be other groups that are or are not working for Bracker, I mean, Okay, so the ones that Bracca's also sending, are we going to have some form of identity code so that they don't open fire on us? What happens if one of them gets it but not us? Do we all share in the reward? I mean...
No. First come, first serve.
So they may well be trying to take us down to stop us getting this.
I'll be quite honest. Bracca's entourage is having a whale of a time betting on whom and will get there first. If you want to put a wager on yourselves, feel free.
We have a job interview, it seems.
I'm already employed, mate.
Me too.
Yep.
I'll take you up on that bet, though.
On yourselves?
Well, obviously.
Do you not want to bet on the Imperials, maybe? There's a band of Black Sun operatives that I believe are interested in this as well. I wouldn't bet on them.
I reach into my pocket and bring out a large bag of fire opals. On us.
Bold move.
I don't think I can match that.
We'll split it when we win.
I like you, Kay. How have we never been friends before?
I don't
Because
know.
he used to say, there's that weird drunk bum at the bar again.
Roy, not now.
And this is the first time we've seen him without a drink in his hand or a bar to hold him up.
Roy, not now.
Hold up the drink I was given.
And we were wrong that time too.
Tychus,
I'm wondering what I've been roped into.
I think we should talk about the ship or the swoop that you're going to give us so we can get there quickly.
So you would like me to lend you the means of access. You don't have a vehicle of your own, then. What would you like? Would you like one for the collection of you, or would you like a swoop each?
I think, seeing as it's going to be a big job, we should get a speeder.
Aye, lots of trunk space.
Broom, broom.
Let's do this. We can do this. You can owe me, or we can take it out of your stake.
Well, you want us to get it, lad. We didn't ask for a job.
We'll take it out of the stake.
He reaches in, takes out 2 opals, puts those in his pocket,
Okay.
puts the rest. He pulls out a slate, hands it to you. You bet on yourself. He puts his thumbprint down, passes it to you, and the wager is made.
What are the odds?
Do you really want to know?
Not good on us.
Just means we're going to win bigger when we get back first.
Exactly. Shall we go and see what I've just bought with 2 opals?
Might as well.
We have a doctor.
I mean, it looks like our options are pretty limited, so we might as well just crack on.
He takes you outside the palace foyer itself, and you walk up some stairs, up to the top of the palace, and round the back. He takes you, essentially, through the tradesman's route and to a parking area. There is a number of very impressive-looking vehicles. You walk past those. There are look of very scary-looking vehicles. You walk past those.
Aww.
There's a bunch of what can be best described as broken and forgotten vehicles. You walk past those.
Okay.
And you find yourself in front of what appears to be a modified Imperial transport. It looks like someone has taken an extremely fast racing vehicle, cut off the back of it, and then bodged on an Imperial transport vehicle. Sort of thing that you put troops in.
That'll do.
Aye, right.
Doesn't have any weapons, but it's got places to stick your guns out of.
Right, well, before we want to go, I want to look over this thing. I want to check the engines, check the operating system, make sure we're going to be alright. We're already running behind time, so an extra half hour of preparation and time now isn't going to impact on us greatly.
They'll have to do all the searching.
Quite.
You are handed a data slate and a small box. Inside the small box are the key codes for the vehicle. And again, thumbprint, it's yours. Signed and notarized.
Thank you.
Will the party's jalopy go? Does anyone really say the word jalopy anymore? Will the party be able to call home and tell their parents that they'll be late for tea? Will Dr. Kurum get struck off because, to be honest, he's not turned up for work for 2 days? Will Kay finally get that drink? Find out all and more on Force Majeure.
This episode's patron is Brendan C. Thank you very much for your support, Brendan. Great to have you on board. Force Majeure is played using the Star Wars Force and Destiny game system from Fantasy Flight Games and Lucas Books. Our intro music is Actionable by BenSound, and our outro music is Suburban Outlaw by Forget the Whale, both used with gratitude under Creative Commons license. For more information about all the other music, sound effects and everything else used in the show, please see the show notes for specific bits and the credits page of our website for more information. Speaking of the website, we are all over the internet at present. We have a web page, we have an Instagram, we have a Facebook, we have a Discord, links of which are all in the show notes, and we can most commonly be found on Twitter at Force Majeure Pod. So come along and interact with us, we'd love to hear from you all. We also have a Patreon as well, details contained in the show notes if you want to support us that way. If you fancy leaving us an iTunes review, we'd also be very grateful for that. Lets us know that we're telling the stories that you all want to hear. Until next time, may the Force be with you.